Any rebroadcast, reproduction, or other use of this show without the express written consent of the Financial Guys, LLC is strictly prohibited.
Investment advisory services offered through Independent Solutions Wealth Management and Blackridge Asset Management, LLC. Peak Broker Services, LLC is not an affiliate of Independent Solutions or Financial Guys, LLC.
Welcome to TFG Truth with Mike Hoeflich and Mike Sperrazza, where every week we hope to report facts, expose hypocrisy, and espouse some common sense, which seems to be completely lacking out there, folks. Today is a special day, a day that will go down in the annals of TFG Truth history, when we were joined by a hero, David Bellavia. David is a former Staff Sergeant, United States Army, a soldier who was awarded the Medal of Honor for his actions during the Second Battle of Fallujah. David also received the Bronze Star Medal, 2 Army Commendation Medals, 2 Army Achievement Medals, and the New York State Conspicuous Service Cross. In 2005, David was even inducted into the New York Veterans Hall of Fame. He's also an author, folks. House to House, an epic memoir of war. You can find this wherever you can find books. So go out to those online sites if you'd like. Find this book, folks. It is something you have to read. I think you're going to have all sorts of emotions when you read it, and I'll let you find out. But this book, House to House, an epic memoir of war by Staff Sergeant David Bellavia. David, welcome, and thank you for joining us on TFG Truth.
Well, thanks for having me. I see you have the grocery store romance version of the book there. Fabio is on the cover riding a horse.
It's the easy reading
the paperback
version. The easy reading.
Yeah, right.
There weren't pictures so much. There was a little bit of a section of pictures that made it easier for a guy like me, but I managed through it.
You're very kind, and I appreciate you talking about the book. That means a lot. Thank you.
You're welcome. David, I guess just to start, I think you might attest to this fact. Hosting radio shows or podcasts, for that matter, requires some technical skills, communication skills. It's a bit of an art, and I know just from your hosting duties of the David Bellavia show, I hear you do it like masterfully. And I know you haven't been doing it for years, and you're just tremendous at it. I have to just say this, when I have a guest on like you, and it's not very often we do, there's a complete, absolute high level of admiration we have for someone like you. I think people watching now already see, though, that you've got a really cool comedic nature, witty nature about you. And if they didn't get it from just now, they hear it all the time when you're hosting your radio show. So you're also a friend of the Financial Guys, a close friend, I would say, of Mike Lomas and Glenn Wiggle. So I just want everyone to know, if we get a little funny and a little bit comedic, there's still this very much a reverence for you as a human being. Just so folks know that we don't want anyone to think we're taking it lightly that we have a Medal of Honor winner here with us today. So.
Well, that's very kind. I appreciate all your kind words. I would say I'm friends with Mike Lomas. I can't stand Glenn Wiggle, but those guys. Let me tell you something. I honestly believe I have a tremendous respect not only for what they do in the community. I mean, we forget that this is a respected financial firm in Western New York, that many residents of Western New York depend on, growing their wealth and controlling their own destiny, the power and freedom you have when you don't have to depend on other sources, and you can actually make decisions based on your portfolio and your 401k and the expansion the Financial Guys have seen in the last couple of years. But people forget that the radio content that you guys are putting out it's moving the needle as well. There's so much more going on under that roof than just world-class financial planning and helping people control their own destiny. You guys are thinking. We were covering a bunch of issues on the radio show. When the whole GameStop thing happened, that programming and that information, no one else was doing that. And so it's amazing to have those resources and relationships and really the good that it could do. And I'm very much, have a lot of respect for what you guys do as well. So thank you for your kind words.
Thank you. Yeah, I know Glenn and Mike have always set the tone. They've always wanted to create a culture of collaboration, but also of courage, of trying to get out front of things. When the markets were just absolutely horrible in 2008, for instance, or in 2020 for that matter. And I know Mike and I are very proud to be part of such a collaborative team. Can we just start here? Where did you grow up?
Yeah, I was going to say, enough about them. Let's get back to me.
Let's get back to the star here.
I'm far more comfortable. Yeah.
Far more comfortable. No, but I think a lot of people do hear about the accolades. They hear you on the radio, but where did you grow up?
I grew up in a small,
sleepy town called Lindenville, New York, in Orleans County, full of just amazing, patriotic, decent people. Great place to raise a family, great school district, great neighbors, great churches. A community that, population less than 1,200, but has like 5 churches in it. And just an incredible place to call home, and I'm super proud to be from Lindenville and right off Lake Ontario. There, no street lights, but even less crime. It was a privilege to grow up and to call that home. And Lindenville's so small, we have 2 recipients of the Medal of Honor, Vossler from World War II, and now this one. But I mean, for a small town to have 2 recipients, it speaks a lot for what's in the water out there in Lindenville.
Did you happen to see Lindenville then growing up? It sounds just like a beautiful, ideal place to grow up. Did you see it as sort of a microcosm of what you hoped the rest of the world was like, or that you thought that's how the rest of the world should be? And so now I'm going to go out there and see if that's the case and make that happen?
Well, honestly, I'm an optimist. I do see the world just like that. I see America as a perfect place. We're always striving to be more united. But I'm just one of those guys, like millions of other American sons and daughters, who we're just prepared to hurt you if you want to hurt us. We're here to protect and defend our community and our way of life. We're not going to apologize for who we are or what we believe. There's a place in this world for liberals as much as there's a place in this world for conservatives. You don't have to agree with me or I don't have to agree with you, but you're not going to intimidate us. You're not going to threaten us, and you're not going to control the way we conduct our lives and take our liberties from us. And if you choose to go down that very foolish path, you're going to face the wrath and the vengeance of American young men and women, as the world has had to deal with us for the last 250 plus years.
Mm-hmm. You just said a word that, strikes me as you in a nutshell, optimist, because when I hear you on the radio, you're always optimistic about stuff. We were saying before we got on today, it's hard sometimes to be an optimist in society right now, right? There's so much, I'll call it bad, and there's so much, destruction going on. It's hard to be an optimist, but listening to your show and listening to you talk all the time, it seems that you do a wonderful job at staying positive and being an optimist with a lot of things.
Well, I mean, honestly, I read the book. I know the ending, right? The good guys are going to win, and the good guys are always going to win. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy. It doesn't mean it's going to be difficult. But at the core of all of our problems in this world, it really comes down to, do people feel validated? Do they have a sense of worth? If they don't, they have to inflate one. They have to create one. They have to go out there and try to show you that they're serious people. They want respect. Everyone wants respect. We understand that. I'm just, stating that for a lot of people that can't find their way or believe that the colleges and universities are going to give them a path to greatness or a path to find their own destiny, I'm just constantly reminding people that the colleges are probably the biggest waste of your money, and that they're going to breed perpetual adolescence and this Peter Pan syndrome, that stay young as long as you want, and let's all be young, and let's all, throw caution to the wind. The United States Army, for me, it crushed adolescence into dust. It makes men and women, and the world is run by men and women. So you can pretend you can be 42 and start your garage band, and paint clay at 50. That's fun. It's a hobby, but the world is going to continue to move on, and decisions have to be made, and real men and women have to make those decisions. And we just need more maturity. We need folks that understand what's at risk, what needs to be sacrificed to get to it. But as far as worrying about the future of America, we have nothing to be concerned about. The folks that are standing up against reason and standing up against order are the same fools that we've been, playing hacky sack with for the last 200 years. And the best thing to happen to conservatives is losing 2 Senate seats in Georgia. The best thing to happen to conservatism is the election of Joe Biden and Trump not winning this election. There's no more excuses anymore. There's no resistance. This is your world. This is your economy. This is your, the Department of Defense. What's going to happen in the next 4 years will result in the death of socialism. That will no longer be a parlor game. It'll no longer be a joke. We're going to look back at this time and realize this is the Renaissance in America, where everyone was awakened and enlightened to realize that socialism has no place in a democratic republic, and socialism certainly can't be relied upon to create jobs or to have any sort of research, development, or technological innovation for the future.
What I want to go to is vaccines for a moment, David. Johnson & Johnson recently had to put a pause on I guess, distribution of their vaccine. There were 6 people that were impacted with blood clotting issues. And I think it was something of 6 people out of maybe 7 million people who had gotten this vaccine. So when I look at that and you think of those numbers, I think it's a bit absurd, because there's been such a push that you must get vaccines. We've got to get the vaccines out. Trump accomplished that in like record time. And it was get the vaccines. That's when we can open. That's when we can do things again. That's when we'll have more freedom. And 6 out of 7 million, now those 6 that have been afflicted, of course we care for them and I have compassion for them. But isn't it absurd to think, it feels like this is the case with many of the issues of today. There's a couple instances or a small amount that we then create this broad solution for. It almost reminds me of COVID. We have 500,000 people. Now, if you believe the numbers, that's 500,000 who died of COVID. That's of about 8 billion people on Earth. And again, you have to believe the 500,000 people have died first. Police shootings, and we'll get to some of that. There's about 1,000 police shootings per year. And I have to think that's of about like tens of millions of encounters of police with people that are doing something wrong, right? That someone who is either suspected of criminality or actually in the process of some kind of criminal act. So do you think it's the goal of the leadership, of liberal leadership anyway, to just scare the public? Like, what's the point here?
Well, first of all, I want to say that if 6 unhealthy women is the reason to cancel the vaccine distribution of Johnson & Johnson, explain to me what the Learning Channel's doing, because there's at least 25 unhealthy women on their primetime programming. We've got the 600-pound life. We've got Sister Wives.
Yeah.
But no, let's just look at this. I don't see this as left versus right. I see this as just gross incompetence. And this is the problem with having emotionally stunted adults with power. You've got people at the CDC. These aren't the best Center for Disease Control experts in the world. These are the best political appointees that want to do that job. And I cannot have a director of the CDC on national television emoting, crying, telling us we're facing impending doom, Meanwhile, putting Governor Whitmer, a governor I have absolutely nothing in common with politically, but what the federal government and the CDC have put on Governor Whitmer in Michigan is unsustainable, it's unfair, and in a political divisive climate is almost a cyanide pill to her political career. Because you've told them we're going to vaccinate our problem away from corona. We need vaccinations, we need herd immunity. This is the path forward. However, in Michigan, even though their numbers are lower than they were 8 months ago, you can't vaccinate your way out of this. You're going to have to lock down Michigan. Every day we hear a different thing. Johnson & Johnson, we're shutting it down. Why? Because 6 people got sick. So what you've done is you've taken the Johnson & Johnson is going to pass. They're going to have an FDA hearing, and this is going to be safe for the public. We're going to be told if you have a platelet problem, go to the Moderna or go to the Pfizer vaccination. The handwriting's on the wall. This isn't about left versus right. This is about gross incompetence versus people that can manage and administer. And what we've seen now with the Pope of coronavirus and Anthony Fauci, who's telling us don't eat inside anymore. He wants a nation of cave dwellers. I mean, who Gander Mountain is supporting Dr. Fauci with his campfire set that he's going to be selling. We're all going to be eating trout by the river.
Fauci's uncomfortable.
Picnics by the river, right? That's what we'll all have.
These are incompetent people. These are fools. And again, the politics doesn't play into it. There are a lot of left-wing doctors that have been consistent. There are a lot of left-wing doctors. The CDC has yet to show any consistency whatsoever. And what they've done is that they've empowered the very enemy of the state, people that question vaccinations, people that don't understand why we're wearing masks, and they've empowered them to have subject matter expertise. And if you're trying to win a communications campaign, this is the worst possible thing that you could have done was pause the distribution of the Johnson & Johnson vaccinations. And again, it's not a left-right issue. It is a competency versus incompetency issue. And we, go figure, we've got a lot of incompetent people at the CDC.
Well, and this is my problem too. As a 28-year-old healthy male, I feel that if I want to get the vaccine, I'll go get it. If I don't, I don't. And then, on the other side, they're saying you really need to. So in my mind, I'm saying, well, if I'm going to have to get this vaccine to do stuff, maybe I will. But then day by day, they come out and say, go get the vaccine. Oh, you still can't go to a restaurant with your family. Go get the vaccine. Oh, you still can't go to a Bills game. Go get the vaccine. Oh, you can't, God forbid, now you're going to get blood clotting. Like they're just doing the worst, and political or not, it's getting to be the point where you're scaring everybody from getting it. I mean, a week ago, I'm thinking to myself, I might just go out and get the damn thing so my life can go back to normal. And then they drop, well, you can't go back to normal. You still got a mask up and you can't go eat in public. I'm like, what am I getting this thing for? I'm already healthy. I'm 28 years old. Why do I need to go get it? It's just such mixed signaling. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Let's stay in New York for a second. The Excelsior Pass, Erie County requirement now that you have to be vaccinated in order to attend Buffalo Bills, Buffalo Sabres games. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, we'll see what the courts have to say. I mean, it's a slippery slope when you're talking about going to public schools and anything that derives from the federal government, and you're enforcing vaccinations. Case law is pretty clear on where the state stands on that. When we're talking about the private sector, unless you're planning on giving every single taxpayer in Erie County access to season tickets for free, as a part of the expanded growth of their tax base, you can't enforce what someone has to ingest into their body, knowingly wanting, whether it's their will or not. You cannot differentiate from a private sector industry and say you must comply or else, and then not be able to provide why it's necessary. See, here's the problem with this mentality of the only way to get to herd immunity is with a vaccination. As Dr. Rand Paul has eloquently discussed with Dr. Fauci, what is going on here with natural immunity? What's happening with people that are contracting COVID and not showing symptoms? Does anyone want to study that? What is going on with people that are getting COVID, having a runny nose, and go back to work? And why do we have people without comorbidities that we know of that are down for the count and are out of commission for 2 weeks? So what is actually, and if you're going to tell us that the vaccination is safe and that there's no problems with the vaccination, this Johnson & Johnson thing throws a wrench in that, right? Mm-hmm. If you're encouraging something that turns out to be thalidomide in 5 years, and now people are having flipper babies, what then role does the government have in that? The liability is gone. Just like an abortion doctor, we can't sue them if they screw up. You can't go after, who do you go after? So there is no precedent in American history where private sectors have stated you cannot participate in the marketplace unless you wait in line and take a vaccination or an injection. It's wildly Pollyanna to think that no court in the world is going to look at this and say, you're good to go. And by the way, if the vaccinations are mandatory, what did you do to those poor people during the playoffs? Why did you allow them in the stadium? And oh, by the way, if I've got to be vaccinated to watch a football game, you better believe every player on that field needs to be vaccinated. Those $40 million athletes are going to put that into their body too. And I need to see proof that everyone in the Bills administration and on the field is vaccinated. This is a never-ending cycle of just, again, it's cool to say and it makes you feel good, but in practicality, these courts are going to bounce this thing out on day one.
Mm-hmm. And here's what cracks me up too. So now you have to show proof of identification that you were vaccinated to go to a Bills game, potentially, right? Yet to show up at the ballot booth and vote, nothing's needed there. So you need to show a vaccine ID card, but you don't need to show an ID card to go vote. It's just maddening. It's absolutely maddening.
But see, this is beautiful. It's not maddening. This is exactly why this is the easiest game in the world, because all these folks do is project. They're insecure. A liberal is just traditionally a very insecure person. There doesn't tend to be a whole lot of faith in anything. They have faith in government. They have faith in man. But when it comes to actual faith in a higher being, in a God, in a power that controls, man has to have the answers. It has to come in science. And if you can't understand science, you have to extend the timeline of the globe to make sure that the dinosaurs fit in with the global warming. And you have to extrapolate and invent and create. And traditionally, these are individuals that are very insecure about what you have in your bank account, in your gun safe. What do you got going on? Because I know I'm crazy. And if I had a gun, I'd be shooting it off every day. I got to make sure that my political allies or my political enemies don't have the ability to hurt me because I'm doing things that probably dictate that society would want to hurt me. So it's all fundamental insecurity. And again, the duplicity is real and it's in real time. And you don't even have to do anything. You just have to sit back and be like, how did you get the vaccine? Didn't you need to show ID for that? Hey, M&T Bank, how did I open up a checking account? Did I just walk in there and say, hey, give me a savings account? What's the interest rate? No, you got to show all of that. So again, it's a woke culture. It's great. It ebbs and flows. But you know what? If this was 1850, all these people would be in line to promote slavery. It was the same populist movement that basically said, what's the best way to go along? Well, you can't take someone's property away from them without paying them. You can't expect slavery to go away and the South is going to have their economy and their property and their ability. That was all the easy argument. That was all the populist new state. Is it going to be a slave state? Is it going to be a free state? This is all lazy thinking. There's no nuance to this. This is a popularity contest. Everyone on this side is woke. Woke is the new du jour. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone wants to do it. No one's thinking about this. I'm in an airline. I'm waiting in a line to get a ticket. I'm packed together like a sardine just to get a ticket. I then am said, hey, everyone needs to back off and give each other 6 feet. You're way too close together. This is unsafe. All right, everyone back off, put your masks on. We all spread apart 10 feet. Then we get on a plane and we're in a 3-legged race for 3.5 hours.
Yep.
I mean, it's maddening. The entire thing is maddening.
It is. It is. I think of when you mention about this is simple. I feel like there's always this kind of the fork in the road. Take the simple path, take the complex path. The complex path sometimes requires a little research, a little bit of thought, a little bit of collaboration. But people love that simple path, right? They all line up to do simple. Simple was everyone stay away from each other. 6 feet is going to be the number. Everybody shut down, right? Close everything. And I think they so mishandle this because I have a mom in assisted living and she's seen the population of that nursing home or assisted living center like drop by half. And I'm not saying everybody died of COVID, but I think a lot of people died of heartbreak. They died of maybe getting medical treatment that they should have gotten otherwise that they didn't because they wouldn't let these people leave the nursing home. They couldn't let doctors into the nursing homes, the assisted living centers. But the idea of simple versus complex drives me crazy. They just don't get it. A lot of these people with that herd mentality, they just fall in line because they want to be part of that club. This seems to be happening again. Mike and I joke and we say, Portland still burning. How about Minnesota now? Minnesota, again, protests, right? Not riots, protests. Yet again, it seems like that part of the population is being loud about something that they just don't want to really look at the details of, right? And we can go into this the loss of life is awful. The police officer of 26 years who was actually training another cop while she was on duty when this event happened. Seems clear it was an accident. I don't know that she woke up and said, today I'm going to kill somebody while I'm training someone after my 26 years of, and I don't know what her history of being a police officer was, but for all accounts, I don't think she had any history of any issues. But for people to again assemble and start rioting and throwing things at law enforcement. And this whole idea of banning police. I mean, Rashid Tlaib is saying, no more police, like no more, right? Who are we going to get when they show up at my door and I'm not equipped to save, myself and my family if I got 14 people ransack my home? Who am I going to call?
They'll have police. That's the problem.
Yeah,
they'll have
the
police. Well, us normal folks can't get it, but they'll have them all around there. The politicians and the people that want them will have them. We just won't have them. That's the problem.
Is this, in your opinion, David, another example of, this is just what we need. We need this absurdity to continue so that collective conservatism continues to rise and sort of squelch it all?
I care less about American conservatism than I do about America. And if I was a black man living in the United States in 2021, I'd be breaking stuff and setting fires too. I mean, let's just acknowledge this for a second. Look at the way African Americans have been treated in American cities since Reconstruction. I mean, no one wants to have the debate as to what the root of the anger is. You're told because of your skin color that the world is unfair. You're told that from grade school all the way until you graduate. And anything you do, you're told you need an extra hand and assistance because you are, from your own DNA and genetics, different. And if you're going to succeed in life, it's going to be done with a turntable or a basketball. That's it. This is exactly what they had perpetuated. And then you go into Section 6 housing. You look at the government supplied housing right now. Gitmo inmates live better than people live in public housing in the United States. There's been nothing that's been done. We're talking about an infrastructure bill for $2.2 trillion. What infrastructure? You've been getting hundreds of millions of dollars a year to update sewers and public housing everywhere in American cities. New York State has had that money allocated. What have you done with it? Not a damn thing. You build community centers that aren't safe enough for people to go. You've completely gutted the Black family in the United States. You've incentivized people to not want to stay in a union, to raise children together. And as all we do is attack the black male in America. You don't want to be a father. You're a horrible example to your black children. I look around and see a whole lot of horrible examples of white fathers to white children. But all we do is attack the black male. We don't acknowledge that there's someone else that's having a baby too, that maybe, just maybe, someone else has to make a choice here. If you're going to go around and want to, hang out with as many people as you want to hang out with. Again, it is this to me is more about woke women versus men than it has ever been about ethnicity. There's no accountability whatsoever to a black woman. We always talk about black fathers and black men. There's no accountability for white fathers. Why are white people dictating to black people about black families? I mean, you want to talk about insulting? Go lecture a black man about what it's like to be a black man in the United States of America from a white liberal educated in Harvard that's sitting around here on a trust fund, and you feel the black pain. You know what it's like to be a black man in Minnesota. That cop, whether she is reaching for a taser or a handgun, I don't care if you're Charles Manson, you don't deserve to be shot in the chest. That's number one. Number two, the guy who got shot in the chest was not Medgar Evers. This was not Dr. King. This was a person with a warrant who robbed a woman at gunpoint, who choked a woman. I thought violence against women, by the way, was the end all be all that should have, got you exercised from the community if you touched a woman. True. But evidently, it's a different world. What I'm saying is, Black Americans have every right to be angry. They have every right to protest. No one has any right to destroy property. No one has any right to be violent. But for the love of God, more white liberals lecturing black people on, trust me, you're not electing black people in these black communities. You're not. We still have senators in blue states talking on behalf of black families. When is Chuck Schumer going to step aside for a young African-American in New York State? Is Andrew Cuomo going to let a young African-American lead New York State? No, they're going to speak on behalf of black people as they have. And listen, when a Democrat's lecturing you about, white, systemic racism and white power, and they're lecturing you about the African-American experience and how black people have been held down, you need to listen to Democrats. They invented that. The Ku Klux Klan was a get out the vote campaign for Democrats. This is a part of the Democrat history. They know what they're speaking of. I'm just saying, you have a right to complain. You have been oppressed. You continue to be oppressed. And it's just the party you're voting for that's the one that's oppressing you. And if you have any questions as to the fidelity of the elected officials that you're putting into office, ask them to give up their power to you. Right. Ask, are we going to have black representatives in black communities? Are we going to have white, liberal, educated Northeastern Americans lecturing black people on their families, their lifestyles, their work ethic, their education, their mental acuity? It is outrageously offensive for people to make the statements they're making on behalf of black people. I see a lot of white kids with dreadlocks smashing windows in Minnesota. I really do. I see a lot of people that aren't from Minnesota blowing up Minnesota. The first day of protests was legitimate people saying, what the hell's going on in the town? And what you're seeing from days 2, 3, and 4 are a bunch of trust fund, rich white kids from the suburbs that just want to burn things because dad didn't love them and mom didn't understand.
Real quick before we get to our last topic, which is the Russia-Ukraine situation, I just, David, you've been in the heat of battle. You know how that goes. I mean, me personally, I couldn't imagine how it feels to be a police officer right now, though. The stresses, the constant criticism, you don't know who you're fighting against or what who you're pulling over. Like, don't you think that's starting to play into this, though? I mean, I'm not making an excuse for that woman. You don't think it at all?
No, listen, that woman shouldn't be a cop.
I'm sorry. You carry your service sidearm on your arm dominant hand. Your taser is on the arm that you don't depend on. There is no you if you're that squirrely where you don't know your taser from your handgun.
Right.
I don't want you anywhere near a handgun. I don't want you anywhere near law enforcement. And listen, let's be honest. We're hiring a lot of people to be cops that shouldn't be cops.
Right.
Right. And we're doing it for whatever reason. Quota, we want more women, we want more single people, we want more whatever. That's the wrong answer. United Airlines wants to brag about how many diverse hires they're making. I want to know how many people are landing your damn plane safely. I don't care about your diversity. Diversity can be helpful when everyone is competent.
Right.
It's great to have different people when everyone's at the same level. I'm telling you, this cop should not be a cop.
Right.
There's no time on earth I went to shoot a guy in the face and I hit him with a water bottle.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a woman who obviously was in over her head. The first thing she says is, "Oh no, I can't believe that just happened." I mean,
Yeah.
there are cops that do their job, and there are cops that have been screwed over by unfair, ridiculous juries. But I look at these two Minnesota situations, whether or not George Floyd died of toxicity to fentanyl or he was choked out, Derek Chauvin put himself in that situation.
Agreed.
That's it.
Yep.
He put himself in that situation. Many cops are going to get screwed over because of what that guy did. And this female cop in Minnesota is the last person I want at my school, watching over my kids, or doing anything.
Right.
Again, we can look at these issues without putting our blinders on. And all I'm saying is cops are asked to do a whole lot. It's a very tough job, but the cops that I know are the best at what they do. How about you pay them more? How about you get a better quality police officer? If you expect more, you expect them to be perfect, pay them like you expect them to be perfect.
Agreed.
You want good quality cops that are accountable. Give them $100,000 a year, and now you can afford to say, "I don't think you're that good. I don't need you. I need 4 of those guys, and I'm willing to pay them $80,000 to $100,000 starting."
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a great point, because you wonder how many times this female officer was in that situation. You know, and here she is training someone to basically handle those situations, and probably far worse. I mean, cops encounter far worse than that type of traffic stop encounter, and it really does.
Can I also just
do one more point here? How does this guy get out of handcuffs? Right. I mean, this whole situation, you had positive control over this kid. He's not a big kid. You got 3 officers there. And he was able to get his hand out of the handcuffs and get behind the wheel of that car.
Jumps back
There's
under,
a lot that's going wrong here.
Jumps back behind the wheel. Behind the wheel again.
Yeah.
And at that point, it's highly unpredictable. So I don't mind the reaction of the cop. Clearly, as you said, she really needs to know, where's my taser, where's my handgun. I mean, that's unforgivable. And as you said, it's not a surprise that people are out protesting, rioting about it, because it's just yet another case of, are we really attacking the core issues here? It's really just about training police officers. It's not about condemning and defunding and abolishing the police officers. Real quick on the Russia-Ukraine, and I guess this really gets to the national policy on how we're going to handle, maybe the countries that have not always been friends to the United States. Russia, one of them, China, another. The way Trump handled things was clearly different than the way Biden chooses and seems to be handling foreign policy. So what do you think this does if Russia does sort of the same things as they did with Ukraine, as China is seemingly just doing whatever they wish to Taiwan? Where do you think this goes on a more global level, and then I guess bring it back into national level? What happens when we allow these things, these forces to happen the way they are?
I mean, it's devastating when the world knows what the media was basically hiding for a year and a half during this campaign. Putin understands what Biden it has slipped. The Joe Biden that we have in 2021 is not the Joe Biden of 2008. The world is seeing it. I mean, he went out and thought he was going to be a tough guy and called Putin a thug and a criminal. Putin has no domestic Russia. The economy is horrible. He's losing support left and right. Where does Putin get his popularity? Foreign policy. If you think that Putin, the Russians will never host an Olympics again, okay? And so he gets his points and his street credit by what he does. And the Russians love what Putin has done, the adventurism that he's shown. If you're the Ukraine people and you're looking at 125,000 troops and you've got an administration that wants to pull, training exercises from Poland, the same administration that asked for, javelins and surface-to-air missiles and M4s, and they got blankets and MREs. I mean, they've shown no support in that region. They've had no commitment there. What are we doing in the South China Sea? The Chinese the other day locked barges with literally attached chains to vessels to block traffic. And our Navy they can only do what their commander-in-chief tells them what to do.
That's right.
So if there's not going to be a kinetic war, if you're not set up for a kinetic war, the Russians are stealing our lunch in the Arctic. They've got subs all over the Black Sea. And I guess Biden believes that a phone call with Putin is going to have all the answers. It's a dire situation, and those people in the Ukraine deserve much better than this.
Yeah. Well, that's the craziest thing before we finish. I mean, you look at him and he can't have a press conference where he reads off cards. He can't do that well.
Right.
Imagine what it's like when you got a manipulator like a Putin on the phone with him. I mean, that guy's just going to walk circles around him, and it's really sad to think he's in control of what's going on right now. I mean, that's to me
sad and scary because we have a lot of friends across the world, and we've always been somewhat of the police force to those friends. I mean, just because of our might, our.
But honestly, gentlemen, I have to tell you, what's far more alarming for me is the idea that the man that America elected president isn't in charge. That to me is far more frightening, that he's not in charge of anything, that he doesn't even dress himself in the morning. He doesn't write his own speeches. And someone, Susan Rice or a chief of staff or a person that never was elected to be in office is making these decisions.
Right.
That is what should keep you up at night.
Yeah.
Because there's no possible way that Joe Biden has his finger on the pulse of the world. There's far too much going on, and this is a guy who can't even get his dog not to take a dump inside of his house.
And stop it from biting people. Right?
Are they going to have regular press conferences between him and Kamala? I mean, she's been in charge of the border for 21 days, nothing. He's done one, and he struggled to, again, read off the card. I mean, when does that change, or does it ever change in this presidency?
The polling numbers are pretty clear that every time people hear Kamala laugh and do her, she does not invoke support. There's not popular support there. You've got to have her have victories from afar. And, the idea that she's going to take this job over and hold a daily press conference and increase, the more that people hear her, it's very much like Hillary Clinton.
Yes.
Hillary Clinton would have been a much more successful candidate if you didn't hear her speak.
Yeah, right.
And the condescending nature, the way she laughs things off, it doesn't play to middle America. And I think they need to keep her as isolated and fresh as possible, because there's a very real chance that she's running solo in 4 years.
Agreed. I think we're going to have to leave it right there. Hopefully this is not the last time we get to visit with you. I do want to just give you this formal offer, though. I don't think you were expecting this, but there's room on the set for a third host, and we are willing to make it TFG Truth with David, Mike, and Mike. It's an unpaid job, by the way, but I just want to throw that out there. If you are looking for something new, a new career move, there's room. I can move over. There's room here. Mike will move over a little bit. Just keep it in mind. I'm not asking you. I know it's
in
enticing.
In the cancel culture, you're 4 letters away from being unemployed. That's the way it works. So
you are right.
You never know.
If we got to pull some strings, I'm sure we could get Mike and Glenn to pony up a few bucks for you too. So if we have to find a salary somewhere, I think we could do it.
We could do it. So anyway.
Leave Glenn out of it, please.
You don't want Glenn around.
I remember you saying that on his 20th anniversary.
I love Glenn. I love Mike. I love you guys. You guys are amazing at what you do. Excellent job. This was a lot of fun. And, support the Thin guys and listen to them and give them a call if you have any issues. Now they're doing insurance. You're competing with a lizard. I love it.
That's right. I know.
It's me. Got to take them down.
Really good stuff.
Take them down. All right, folks.
Thank you, guys.
You're welcome, David. Thank you so much. Folks, we appreciate you tuning in to TFG Truth. For Mike Hoeflich, Mike Sperrazza here. Keep up the good fight. We'll be back next week.